Humanity had been at war for what felt like an eternity, a relentless struggle against an alien empire that spanned more star systems than anyone could count. From the moment the conflict began, it was clear that this enemy was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. The alien empire wielded technology that was centuries ahead of anything humanity could muster. Their ships were faster, stronger, and nearly impervious to the weapons that humanity had developed over years of desperate innovation. Their fleets were vast, covering the expanse of the galaxy with an iron grip, leaving humanity on the defensive from the very start. The early days of the war had been marked by crushing defeats, as human colonies fell one after another. The alien invaders seemed unstoppable, their dominance unquestioned as they pushed deeper into human territory. With every battle lost, hope dwindled, and the whispers of surrender grew louder among those who saw no path to victory. The human forces, though resilient and determined, were simply outmatched, their resources stretched thin across a war that had no end in sight. Leaders scrambled to find a solution, pouring every last ounce of ingenuity into defense strategies that barely held the line. Amidst this chaos, humanity's desperation became increasingly apparent. Entire star systems were sacrificed in an attempt to buy time, civilian populations evacuated as worlds were left to burn. The war effort consumed everything: resources, lives, hope. The desperation of humanity's situation became a grim reality that weighed heavily on the shoulders of every soldier, every commander, every civilian who still held on to the fragile hope that somehow, someway, they could survive this onslaught. It was a war of attrition, with humanity on the losing end. Among the human ranks were those who had become legends in their own right, commanders who had defied the odds, pilots who had survived battles where none should have walked away. These were the best humanity had to offer, those who had been tempered in the crucible of war and emerged as symbols of defiance. They were the ones who stood at the forefront, leading desperate counterattacks and holding the line against an enemy that seemed unstoppable. They were heroes, but even heroes could not turn the tide of a war that had been lost before it began. Yet, amidst the darkness, there were whispers of something more. Rumors circulated among the ranks, stories of a secret project that had been in the works for years. No one knew the details, but the mere mention of it brought a flicker of hope to those who heard it. It was said that humanity had been working on something that could change the course of the war, something that could give them a fighting chance. But these were just rumors, the kind of stories that soldiers told each other in the dark of night, when the reality of their situation was too much to bear. The truth, however, was far more profound than anyone could have imagined. Deep within the uncharted regions of space, far from the prying eyes of the alien empire, humanity had been developing a secret weapon. It was not a weapon in the conventional sense, but a fleet unlike any that had ever been seen before. This was not a fleet built for defense, but for something far more audacious. It was a fleet designed to strike at the very heart of the alien empire, to deliver a blow so devastating that it would shatter the enemy's resolve and bring the war to an abrupt end. This fleet was known only to a select few, hidden away in the darkest corners of space, where no one would think to look. It was a project born of desperation and hope, a last-ditch effort to turn the tide of a war that had pushed humanity to the brink. The fleet's existence was a closely guarded secret, known only to those who needed to know. But those who did know understood its significance. This was not just a fleet, it was humanity's last hope, the one thing that could save them from total annihilation. As the alien empire prepared for what they believed would be the final offensive to crush humanity once and for all, those who knew the truth waited with bated breath. The fleet was ready, and the time to unleash it was fast approaching. Every calculation, every simulation, every possible scenario had been considered. The fleet's commanders, the best and brightest humanity had to offer, stood ready to execute a plan that had been years in the making. They knew the risks, they understood the stakes, and they were prepared to do whatever it took to ensure that humanity would not just survive, but emerge victorious. The war had brought humanity to the edge of extinction, but in that moment of greatest peril, a glimmer of hope remained. The alien empire, confident in their impending victory, had no idea what was about to be unleashed upon them. The elite strike fleet, humanity's hidden force, was poised to strike, and when it did, the galaxy would never be the same again. For years, the development of humanity's secret weapon had been shrouded in mystery. Hidden deep within the uncharted regions of space, far from the reach of any prying eyes, a project was underway that would change the course of the war. The Elite Strike Fleet, as it came to be known, was not just a collection of ships. It was a culmination of humanity's brightest minds and most advanced technology, brought together with a singular purpose: to deliver a blow that would shatter the alien empire's dominance. This fleet was unlike anything ever seen before. Each ship in the fleet was a marvel of engineering, built using experimental technologies that had been years in the making. Stealth systems rendered the ships virtually invisible to the enemy, while advanced propulsion allowed them to move through space with unparalleled speed and agility. The weapon systems were cutting-edge, capable of delivering devastating firepower with pinpoint accuracy. These were not just warships, they were instruments of precision, designed to strike with lethal efficiency. The crews selected for the Elite Strike Fleet were the best humanity had to offer. These were individuals who had proven themselves time and time again in the crucible of war. Pilots with nerves of steel, engineers who could make miracles happen with limited resources, strategists who could outthink any opponent. They were all brought together under one banner, united by the knowledge that they were humanity's last hope. Every member of the fleet understood the gravity of their mission, and they trained relentlessly, knowing that their success or failure would determine the fate of their species. The origins of the Elite Strike Fleet could be traced back to the early days of the war, when it became clear that traditional strategies would not be enough to win against an enemy as formidable as the alien empire. In secret, a group of visionary leaders and scientists proposed a radical new approach. Instead of fighting the war on the terms set by the alien invaders, humanity would create a force capable of changing the rules of the game. This would be a force designed not for defense, but for an all-out, decisive strike that would catch the enemy completely off guard. To bring this vision to life, humanity established a covert research and development program in the most remote reaches of space. Here, far from the eyes of the alien empire, they began to work on the technologies and strategies that would eventually culminate in the Elite Strike Fleet. The project was kept so secret that only a handful of people knew of its existence, and every precaution was taken to ensure that the enemy would never learn of it. This was humanity's ace in the hole, a trump card that would only be played when the time was right. The strategy behind the Elite Strike Fleet was simple yet audacious. It was designed to strike at the heart of the alien empire in one swift, decisive move. The fleet would remain hidden, biding its time until the enemy was fully committed to an offensive that they believed would end the war. Then, at the most critical moment, the fleet would emerge from the shadows and deliver a series of surprise attacks on the enemy's most vital targets. The goal was not just to inflict damage, but to completely destabilize the alien empire, leaving them unable to continue the fight. As the years passed and the war dragged on, the anticipation surrounding the Elite Strike Fleet grew. Those who were aware of its existence waited with a mix of anxiety and hope, knowing that it was humanity's last, best chance for victory. Every day that the fleet remained hidden was a day that the enemy drew closer to Earth, but it was also a day that brought humanity closer to the moment when the fleet would finally be unleashed. The tension was palpable, but those in command of the fleet knew that patience was their greatest ally. The timing had to be perfect. Finally, the moment came. The alien empire, confident in their impending victory, began preparations for a final, all-out offensive against Earth. They believed that humanity was on its last legs, and that one more decisive strike would end the war once and for all. What they did not know was that humanity had been preparing for this very moment. As the alien fleet massed for their attack, the order was given. The Elite Strike Fleet, hidden for so long in the depths of uncharted space, began to move. The reveal of the Elite Strike Fleet was nothing short of spectacular. One by one, the ships emerged from their hidden locations, their stealth systems deactivated as they prepared for battle. The alien empire, so confident in their superiority, was caught completely off guard. In an instant, the balance of power shifted. The Elite Strike Fleet, with all its advanced technology and unparalleled firepower, was unleashed upon the enemy with devastating effect. The suspense that had built over the years finally gave way to action as the fleet executed its mission with precision. The alien empire, so sure of their victory, suddenly found themselves on the defensive, their most vital installations under attack. The speed and efficiency of the strikes left them reeling, their carefully laid plans in ruins. What was meant to be the final offensive against Earth turned into a desperate struggle for survival. Humanity's secret weapon had been revealed, and it was more powerful than anyone could have imagined. The elite strike fleet, hidden in the depths of space for so long, had finally fulfilled its purpose. The war, which had seemed unwinnable, was suddenly within humanity's grasp. The tide had turned, and the alien empire, once so dominant, was now facing the very real possibility of defeat. The moment had arrived, the one that humanity had been waiting for in silence and secrecy. As the alien empire prepared for what they believed would be their final, crushing blow against Earth, the elite strike fleet made its move. Emerging from the depths of uncharted space, the fleet appeared as if from nowhere, breaking the veil of secrecy that had hidden it for so long. The suddenness of the emergence was shocking. One moment the skies were clear, and in the next, a formidable armada stood poised to strike. The alien empire had no warning. Their vast network of sensors and early detection systems had been meticulously designed to pick up even the slightest sign of an approaching threat, but they had been utterly blind to this. The stealth technology of the elite strike fleet was beyond anything the aliens had ever encountered, rendering the fleet effectively invisible until it was too late. The fleet's arrival was a moment of sheer disbelief for the alien forces, a moment where everything they thought they knew was turned upside down. Without hesitation, the fleet launched its first strike, a coordinated and devastating attack on the alien empire's most critical military installations. The targets were chosen with precision, each one a vital cog in the empire's war machine. There was no time for the aliens to regroup or retaliate. The strikes were too fast, too efficient. The first wave of attacks hit command centers, weapon depots, and communication hubs, crippling the Empire's ability to coordinate a defense. Explosions ripped through the enemy's key facilities, sending shockwaves of chaos through their ranks. The aliens, who had prided themselves on their technological superiority, were suddenly thrust into a nightmare scenario. Their defenses, thought to be impenetrable, crumbled under the onslaught of the elite strike fleet. The human ships moved with a speed and precision that seemed almost unreal, their pilots executing maneuvers that left the alien forces bewildered and helpless. The fleet's advanced weaponry tore through enemy ships and ground installations alike, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. Panic spread like wildfire through the alien ranks. This was not an enemy they had anticipated. This was something entirely new, something they had no defense against. The shock of the sudden attack left the alien commanders reeling, unable to comprehend how their meticulous plans had unraveled in an instant. They had prepared for a final offensive, a campaign that would end the war in their favor, but now they found themselves on the receiving end of an onslaught that was beyond anything they had imagined. The intensity of the battle was overwhelming. The elite strike fleet's ships moved with a deadly grace, their actions perfectly synchronized as they executed their attacks. Every move was calculated, every shot precisely aimed. The alien forces, though vast and powerful, were no match for the human fleet's superior tactics and technology. The aliens' attempts to mount a defense were futile, their ships were outmaneuvered, their weapons outclassed. The human pilots, trained for this very moment, executed their missions with cold, calculated efficiency. The first strike had been devastating, but the fleet did not relent. Wave after wave of attacks followed, each one further eroding the alien empire's ability to fight back. The once mighty fleets of the alien empire were reduced to scattered remnants, their ships fleeing in disarray or being obliterated where they stood. On the ground, the situation was no better. The alien military installations, critical to their war effort, were reduced to smoking ruins within hours. The infrastructure that had supported their war machine was shattered, and with it, the alien empire's confidence. As the dust settled, the true scale of the devastation became apparent. The elite strike fleet had not just won a battle, they had delivered a blow that would echo through the entire galaxy. The alien empire, so sure of its superiority, was now on the brink of collapse. Their forces were in disarray, their leadership in shock. What had started as a war of attrition had now turned into a rout, with humanity emerging as the dominant force. The shock and awe of the attack resonated far beyond the battlefield. The alien empire, which had once seemed invincible, had been brought to its knees in a matter of hours. The sheer scale and precision of the attack left no doubt that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The message was clear: humanity would not go quietly into the night. They had the power, the technology, and the will to fight back, and they had just proven it in the most spectacular way possible. The first phase of the fleet's mission was complete, but the war was far from over. The alien empire was crippled, but not yet defeated. The next steps would be critical, as the elite strike fleet prepared to press their advantage and bring the conflict to its final, decisive conclusion. The galaxy had witnessed the unveiling of humanity's true strength, and now there was no turning back. The war that had once seemed unwinnable was now firmly within humanity's grasp, thanks to the devastating power of the elite strike fleet. The initial strikes had been nothing short of catastrophic for the alien empire. What had begun as a confident march toward victory had swiftly turned into a nightmare. In the wake of the elite strike fleet's assault, the alien forces were left in complete disarray. Their chain of command, once rigid and efficient, was now shattered, with commanders unable to communicate, coordinate, or even understand the full scope of the disaster that had befallen them. Panic rippled through the ranks as soldiers and officers alike struggled to comprehend how their once unstoppable empire had been brought to its knees so swiftly. The chaos within the alien military was palpable. Entire fleets were left rudderless, their commanders either dead or out of contact, while ground forces found themselves without orders or reinforcements. The Empire's communication networks, so crucial for their vast war machine, were in tatters, destroyed in the first wave of humanity's assault. Messages of distress and confusion flooded the remaining channels, but without central coordination, these cries for help went unanswered. The once organized and disciplined alien forces were now a scattered mess, each unit fending for itself in the face of overwhelming destruction. But the elite strike fleet was not finished. With the alien military in disarray, the human fleet continued its assault, targeting the critical infrastructure that kept the alien empire functioning. One by one, the key military and governmental installations that had supported the empire's war effort were obliterated. Supply depots, shipyards, research facilities, each was systematically destroyed, further eroding the alien empire's ability to mount any meaningful resistance. The strikes were relentless, leaving no time for the aliens to regroup or recover. Within the halls of the alien leadership, the panic was even more intense. The leaders who had once commanded fear and respect now found themselves gripped by uncertainty and dread. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The magnitude of the threat they faced was beyond anything they had anticipated. Reports of the devastation poured in from across their territory, each one painting a more desperate picture than the last. The leaders, who had always believed in their empire's superiority, were now confronted with the grim reality of their impending downfall. Desperation set in as the alien leadership scrambled to respond. They ordered counterattacks, mobilizing whatever forces they could muster in a last-ditch effort to stem the tide. But these efforts were futile. The elite strike fleet was prepared for every contingency, their tactics and technology far superior to anything the aliens could throw at them. The counterattacks, hastily organized and poorly executed, were met with overwhelming force. Alien ships that attempted to strike back were intercepted and destroyed with ruthless efficiency. Ground forces that tried to regroup were annihilated before they could even begin to mount a defense. The alien leadership's attempts to regain control only deepened the case. With their chain of command in ruins, the orders that did come through were contradictory or impossible to execute. Some commanders, in their desperation, chose to ignore orders altogether, focusing instead on survival. Others, clinging to the hope that the Empire could still be saved, launched reckless attacks that only served to further weaken their already crumbling forces. The once mighty alien Empire, which had stretched across countless star systems, was now in free fall, its power unraveling at an alarming pace. As the situation grew more dire, the alien leadership began to turn on each other. Blame was cast in every direction as leaders sought to deflect responsibility for the disaster. Old rivalries resurfaced, and unity within the Empire's leadership collapsed. In their fear and desperation, some leaders even considered abandoning the Empire altogether, fleeing to distant worlds in the hope of escaping the wrath of humanity's fleet. But there was nowhere to hide. The reach of the elite strike fleet was vast, and the humans were determined to ensure that no remnant of the alien empire would be left to threaten them again. The fall of the alien empire was swift and brutal. Within hours, the empire that had once seemed invincible was reduced to a shadow of its former self. The infrastructure that had held it together was in ruins, and the military that had enforced its will across the galaxy was broken beyond repair. The alien leadership, who had once commanded with an iron fist, now faced the prospect of total annihilation. The elite strike fleet had done more than win a battle, they had dismantled an empire. In the aftermath of the strikes, the remnants of the alien forces were left to pick up the pieces, but there was little left to salvage. The Empire's remaining worlds, once centers of power and influence, were now isolated and defenseless. Without the support of the central government or military, these worlds were left to fend for themselves, their populations gripped by fear and uncertainty. The alien empire, which had ruled with absolute authority for so long, had fallen into chaos, its future uncertain. Humanity's victory was total. The alien empire, which had once posed an existential threat, was now in ruins, its power shattered by the devastating efficiency of the elite strike fleet. The war, which had seemed unwinnable, was over. The galaxy, once dominated by the iron grip of the alien empire, was now free. The elite strike fleet had fulfilled its mission, and in doing so, had ensured the survival of humanity. The cost had been high, but the reward was greater still, a galaxy where humanity would no longer be the hunted, but the hunter. The final strike was as decisive as it was symbolic. With the alien empire in shambles, the elite strike fleet set its sights on the heart of the enemy, their homeworld. This was the seat of power, the source of the Empire's strength, and the last bastion of hope for a regime that had ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. The fleet's approach was swift and unrelenting, a culmination of years of preparation and sacrifice. As the first volleys of firepower rained down on the alien homeworld, the end became inevitable. The defenses that had once seemed impenetrable crumbled under the sheer force of the attack, and with them, the Empire's last remnants of power. The collapse of the alien empire was both sudden and complete. Within hours, what had once been the center of a vast interstellar empire was reduced to ruins. The leadership that had orchestrated the war, now exposed and vulnerable, was swept away in the final onslaught. The war that had dragged on for years, costing countless lives on both sides, was over in an instant. Humanity, against all odds, had emerged victorious. The galaxy, once dominated by the alien empire, was now free from their grasp. But victory came at a cost. As the smoke cleared and the final echoes of battle faded, the true toll of the war began to emerge. For humanity, the cost had been immense. Entire star systems had been devastated, countless lives lost in the struggle for survival. The war had pushed humanity to the brink, testing the limits of their resilience and ingenuity. The elite strike fleet, while instrumental in securing victory, was a reminder of the lengths humanity had been forced to go to in order to survive. The triumph was bittersweet, a victory won through sheer determination and sacrifice. The alien empire, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, was now a shadow of its former self. The destruction of their homeworld marked the end of their dominance, but the consequences of their defeat were far-reaching. The collapse of their government left a power vacuum that would take years, if not decades, to fill. Worlds that had once been under the Empire's control now faced an uncertain future, their populations left to rebuild from the ruins of war. The Empire's downfall was complete, but the galaxy would bear the scars of the conflict for generations to come. As humanity surveyed the aftermath of their hard-won victory, there was a sense of both relief and reflection. The war had been a crucible, forging a new era for humanity in the galaxy. The elite strike fleet had proven not only that humanity could survive against overwhelming odds, but that they could prevail. The fleet's success was a testament to human ingenuity, to the ability to adapt and innovate in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. It was a victory that would be remembered for ages, a turning point in the history of the galaxy. But with victory came new challenges. The war had left humanity in a position of power, but also of responsibility. The collapse of the alien empire had created a void that humanity would need to navigate carefully. There was no clear path forward, no easy answers to the questions that now loomed. The galaxy was vast and uncertain, and humanity's role in it was still to be determined. The elite strike fleet had secured peace, but the future was far from certain. In the end, the story of the war was not just one of victory, but of survival. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger, but the cost had been high. The sacrifices made by those who fought, the lives lost, and the worlds destroyed would not be forgotten. The war had tested the very core of what it meant to be human, and in the end, it had shown that humanity's greatest strength was not in their weapons, but in their resilience. The ability to endure, to fight on when all seemed lost, and to come together in the face of a common enemy. This was what had secured their place in the galaxy. The elite strike fleet would go down in history as the force that ended the war, but its legacy would be far greater. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when pushed to the brink, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there was always hope. As the galaxy began to heal from the wounds of war, humanity looked to the future with both caution and hope. The war was over, but the story of humanity was just beginning.